What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Guys Podcast on Capture Media. Today, I have a very, very special guest. I'm honored to have her here. This woman right here is so dope. Her story is so amazing. We have Miss Karen Cantor in the fucking building. What's going on? How's everything?
Everything's
How you
great.
feeling today?
I feel good. We had a conversation before this, a really long conversation, and I feel really grounded in this couch, like
You feel
just
comfortable?
comfortable. I feel
Good,
really comfortable.
good,
I'm
good,
ready to
good.
talk. Yeah.
That's what's up. So, what's going on with you? How's everything?
I'm good. I'm in a relationship. We talk about this at work,
Yeah,
how ever since the pandemic, I've been telling you about my life, and it's been good. We met on Hinge. I know how those dating apps can be really
definitely,
hard.
definitely. So, is this something? So, when you got on Hinge, what were you looking for when you got on there? Was it something like I'm looking for a man to marry, date seriously? Was it just like I want to hook up? Like what was your intentions for being on Hinge?
Honestly, I was in a lot of relationships where I knew what I didn't want,
Mm-hmm.
and I still didn't know what I want. When I went to the dating apps, I just knew that's where I met people. I didn't know what to do after I broke up with my fiance. So
If you
maybe we
broke
could
up with your
talk.
fiance, what happened
Yeah.
with that?
Oh, so like we got engaged. We'd been together since I was like 25. I'm 29 now. We got engaged in December of 2019. As you know, the pandemic hit, and then after the pandemic, we broke up. I realized I didn't know who I was, and I didn't know who he was after all that
How long were you
stress,
guys together though?
trauma. I've known him since I was 15.
And you didn't know who he was, and he didn't know who he was.
I think we did have a good sense of who we were before the pandemic.
Uh-huh.
And then when faced with that hardship, everyone can relate to that. It required us to change ourselves, how we thought, how we approached success. He was a chef. I was still a nurse working the
Uh-huh.
ICU in peak COVID. And yeah, like he lost his job. A lot of people did. And when he lost his job, I didn't know how to help him get out because, you spend all your time working on yourself. And we even had a business together.
What kind of business do you guys have?
We had a dinner party experience. We would host dinner parties in our house. And it was going well for 6 months. And then the pandemic hit, he lost everything. No one could come over, obviously. No one was going to restaurants.
Uh-huh.
And he was just really depressed. And so was I, working every day, like 7 o'clock clap for nurses.
Uh-huh.
And it was like total bullshit. It was really hard.
Damn, that's
You
crazy.
were there.
Yeah, I was.
I
I was
remember.
definitely, definitely, definitely. So you think him losing his job contributed to the reason why like the relationship ended?
I think for him specifically, he attributed a lot of his worth as a person to his financial stability and, what job he held. And that was his purpose. He
Uh-huh.
loved doing it. He was a creative person.
Uh-huh.
Losing that makes you ask yourself, like, who am I without my job?
Uh-huh.
Right? And me, I'm just kind of supporting him. I was fully supportive, paying rent,
Uh-huh.
working, and I'm just burnt out,
Uh-huh.
at this time, April of 2020. It's really hard. He's a very emotional giving guy. He
Uh-huh.
like actually cared a lot,
Uh-huh.
but it was hard to connect with anybody at that point. I can't speak to his, experience, but some things that I notice is, when you can't give, when you're not given to, or you can't do the things that you love to do, it's hard to give that energy to somebody else.
Uh-huh.
Like we're both at zero
Uh-huh.
energy, zero patience, and it just wasn't the relationship it was before the pandemic. And when that thing ended, when the pandemic ended and
Uh-huh.
all the dust settled, I didn't know who I was. I had a different sense of purpose. I
Uh-huh.
was angry, I think, at the whole pandemic happening, the situation with nurses, healthcare in general. I hated my job. I couldn't do what I loved. How could I give to somebody when I didn't even have a sense of self? And I'm pretty sure he felt the same way. Like, losing his job was definitely really rough, and it's hard
Yeah.
getting out of that. But I actually saw a therapist
So a therapist?
in January of 2021. And that's when I got more connected with myself
Mm-hmm.
and realized how disconnected I was from him.
Wow. So what did you find out, right, in those therapy sessions to make you say, wow, this is the reason why I was disconnected? What were the things that were highlighted?
I think it was just my behavior, you know? Like I can be the fixer, be the supporting role, and be a good partner to the extent that I understood it prior to really like being honest with my therapist. I wasn't a nice person.
Hmm.
I said really mean things. I didn't make him feel like he was doing enough. And
In what way, like financially because he lost his job, or is it more so like you felt that he wasn't trying to get back on his feet and better himself? Was it the fact that he lost it, or you didn't think that he was ambitious to like and still keep pushing?
I think I valued the ambition. And there wasn't a point where I was like, okay, it's time to get back to our lives, get back to normalcy. And it wasn't happening. And I think I hurt him a lot in that time.
How did you hurt him? Like, what did you do?
Just kind of like not being kind, like not saying nice things, not making him feel like he mattered. And I was putting my own needs a lot over his.
Mm-hmm.
I am I am cisgender.
Wait, can you explain that for the for the people out there that
queer.
don't know? Okay.
And
I didn't know this. Karen just told me this, so I appreciate you sharing this. And that's something personal, and you're sharing it on this platform, so I appreciate that.
Thank you. My pronouns are she, her, they, them. I am cisgender, which just means I was born as a woman and I identify as a woman.
Mm-hmm.
I am polyamorous. And I used to practice ethical non-monogamy.
You're currently polyamorous?
I am polyamorous. Like who I love, anybody. But as I think I mentioned earlier in our conversations, there's gender, gender expression, sexuality, sexual expression. So I'm cisgender. In terms of gender expression, I am like kind of fluid, gender fluid. But I do
meaning whatever you feel in that moment.
However I feel, and that's cool. I used to have really long hair. I
remember that.
Am ultra femme like sometimes, but I've become more comfortable expressing my masculinity. We say like tomboyish. That's a lot of the experimentation that a lot of people do. Well, I'm speaking for myself because it's a spectrum. It's different for everybody, as I mentioned. So I'm gender fluid. However I want to dress or express my gender, woman, whatever that means to me is how I present myself that day. Gotcha. Sexuality, I am polyamorous. I am sexually attracted to men, women, trans non-binary, trans masc, just a slew of people, just people.
So you're attracted to just people for the most part, no matter what, right? Gender, no matter what they express themselves as.
Yeah, even though I identify as a woman, I kind of accept the like non-binary. It's how I express it is my polyamorous side. I just can't. Oh, sorry. While I am polyamorous, I don't really like express it as freely as I used to when I was experimenting. I am with a cisgender heterosexual man, right? I am a heterosexual woman. So it does kind of get confusing.
Wait, okay, it is because you say you're a heterosexual woman, but you also said, things previously. Yeah. So I'm like,
I'm heterosexual, which means like I like men, but I'm also like polyamorous, whatever, bisexual. Right now, I'm with a man, a cisgender.
And shout out to Q. He's a cool dude.
Yeah,
I had a chance to meet him. He's a real cool guy.
So no, I mean, I think what I'm saying is no matter how I identify, my partner is cisgender, heterosexual.
Gotcha.
He's a man.
Gotcha.
And I am not really practicing ethical non-monogamy. I used to. I used to be in several relationships at the same time with different people. Everybody knew.
How did that work out when you were in those relationships with different people? Did you feel like burnt out? Because that's a lot. I always say, you know, when you're with one person, it takes a lot of time, work, and effort. For you, balancing a relationship with, you said 7 people?
Several.
Several.
Maybe like 3. Maybe,
how did that,
you know.
yeah, how did you balance all of that? Like, that's a lot.
Oh, I think it's just what I needed at the time.
Because you felt like you could get things from, you know, each person separately, right?
Yeah.
Got you.
I didn't think that there was one person. I truly didn't believe that there was one person who could do everything for you, you know? I didn't think that there was any one person, because I had never met one person who satisfied me sexually, satisfied me emotionally, satisfied me financially, you know? I think we do want all aspects of, you know, a good person and a successful person in one person. But in my experience, I wasn't finding that. And I still had all these needs. And I think it was through therapy that I was able to identify what I needed and then be honest with it and be like, this is what I need at that moment. These are the people who are meeting me right in that moment. But we are constantly shifting. I'm constantly changing. My needs are different all the time.
Wait, so let me ask you a question. Now that you have a partner that you love this man, right?
Yeah.
And you guys are together. Like I said, I had a chance to meet him. You guys seem like a solid unit. Does he feel a little insecure knowing that at one time you were with, you know, different people? You couldn't get everything that you wanted from one person. You had to go and get it from different people. How does, like, I just want to know too, like, do you have to constantly make him feel that he's the one and you're not going to, you know, be tempted to go outside of the relationship? Because I mean, I got to tell you, that takes a lot of, you know, like, and he's a cool guy. He got his shit together, but it's like, damn, how does he feel about that with your kind of past, right? You know?
When I met him, I was polyamorous and
you met him when you met him. You was, and sorry, Joe, your previous boyfriend. I'm sorry, fiance.
My
ex-fiance. Were you guys
we
poly?
met, I was poly.
Okay.
And ethically non-monogamous.
So who introduced that to the relationship? Were you guys both poly, or was that something that you introduced, or was something that he and then?
Oh yeah, that's a good question. He was not.
He was not poly?
He made me believe he was okay with it. For whatever his agenda was, just love, acceptance. We knew each other. We were friends first. It just felt right. And what he was willing to accept, I was willing to give. What I was willing to accept, he was willing to give. I met him and I told him I was polyamorous and I was in several relationships. It was over time I had given up all of that because I thought he had every quality that I was looking for in a man.
And so what qualities were you looking for? So what qualities were you looking for in a man? And another question is, as of right now, before you met Q, what were you looking for, you know, in right before you got with your current partner? Right?
I think the qualities that I want in a partner, right? Man, woman, anybody, is somebody who can care for me financially or support me and the life that I want to have for myself. Sure, I do that for myself, but I also want a person I can do that with. I want
like
somebody
contribute or like fully just like take over and support you.
Not fully take over and support.
Just contribute.
Me. Yeah.
Okay, got you.
I actually feel really fulfilled in my career.
Got you.
I'm an ICU nurse, very independent. I make my own money. I'm not going to stop ICU nursing. I'm actually writing like a paper of some research we did last year on xenotransplants. So I'm getting that published.
That's gonna be dope.
You know,
you gotta share that here too.
Yeah, I got a lot of things going for me at work that I'm really, really proud of. And so no, I don't think I needed anybody to shoulder all of that. I mean, yeah, it'd be cool if I could just live in a house and do all my projects and hobbies throughout a garage, right? But I don't think I'd be okay with myself if I expected all that to be provided to me by a person. Any one person. And so, okay, so somebody to take care of me when I need to be taken care of. And knowing like I'm gonna do the same, right? I want somebody that I'm sexually attracted to,
Mhm.
right? Like that kind of
Like physically
is
or just
super
mentally stimulated or both?
both,
Gotcha.
both. I think I want somebody who I'm physically attracted to, that I find really attractive, that I love looking at,
Hmm.
and somebody who can like keep up a conversation with me, just really get me interested. I want to be able to talk to them.
Hmm.
Like, okay, these are just qualities that I don't think any of my wants in a person are unique, right?
Hmm.
And then I think the most important, I mean, I'll be real, like the most important thing that I want from a person that I didn't know I needed was emotional support.
Okay. So when you say emotional support, like, can you dive a little bit deep into that? Because I don't think a lot of people understand what that means, right? What to you, what is well, what is the definition that you understand emotional support is, and what does it mean to you?
That's a good question. If I have feelings, like if I'm feeling sad
Hmm.
one day, I want my partner to like feel empathetic
Hmm.
with me,
Hmm.
not feeling like they need to fix something. Not every feeling that I have needs to be fixed. I'm very well capable of fixing what I need to fix for myself because it's my life and I have accountability, and I should be able to do it myself. I should, when I was single or working on myself, worked on fixing whatever problems, regulating myself,
Hmm.
right? I mean, that's why I see a therapist, to regulate myself. I don't need a partner to do that, but I do want somebody to connect with me,
Hmm.
feel like they can empathize with me, right? And I think we might have touched upon this earlier, but there's
And
sympathy
empathy.
and empathy. And I think empathy is a muscle. Like it can be practiced, it can be learned, it can be flexed,
Hmm.
you know? Just like going to the gym and flexing your physical muscles, or going to work and getting a raise,
Yeah, yeah.
those are all aspects of who we are, and we need to be, I want to be received,
Hmm.
I want to be feeling safe
Hmm.
around a person. I don't want to be dismissed.
Hmm.
My parents did that enough. I'd come to my parents with a problem,
Hmm.
they'd be like, oh, get over it.
Really?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's just personal experience.
Yeah.
But I learned very early on to be independent, to deal with things
But
on
do you
my
think your
own.
parents did that just to condition you for the world? Right?
Yeah.
Maybe they did it for that reason.
So I could be
Yeah,
protected. I
it's
could
not that they don't
protect
probably don't
myself.
love you and they don't care about you. It's just that they thought that that was what you need to, you know, go through so that you can be prepared for the world out there.
I agree. And I rationalized that for myself growing up.
Hmm.
But that didn't mean I didn't that I didn't have that need fulfilled.
Hmm.
And they weren't capable of doing it. And I still needed to get that fulfilled by somewhere else.
So you needed the discipline and the realness, but also the nurturing too.
Nurturing.
Exactly.
Yeah, we want a person who can nurture us, no?
Yeah. Like I have a daughter, and I had to learn right how to just understand how to just see things in a different light because I'm more logical, I'm more rational.
Yeah.
A lot of times I feel like when I'm talking to my daughter, I have to say things in a certain way because sometimes it's not what you say, it's how you say it.
Yeah.
And dealing with women in my family, it's not that you're not telling the truth, it's just that how you deliver the truth.
Yes.
Right? So I had to learn that. So yeah.
Yeah, if you're telling somebody the
This talk is
truth.
therapeutic, kind of. Like
Yeah.
this is so dope, man. I appreciate you being here, man.
Oh, I love that.
Like I love like how we're flowing right now. This is awesome. But
Oh,
go ahead,
thank
keep
you.
going.
If we're talking to somebody and they spit truth at us,
Mhm.
but we don't know who they
And we
are,
got to be ready to receive it.
right? Like,
You know
but
what
how
I'm
am I going to trust you? How did we build that
I-
currency?
I feel like people who love you are going to tell you the truth no matter how much it hurts you.
If somebody says they love me and tells me the truth,
Mm-hmm.
but it doesn't get to me because I don't trust them.
Mm-hmm. But also too, you have to know, you have to be accountable for yourself. You know where your shortcomings are.
But where did
you
I
know,
learn that?
I think
Who taught you that?
I think just being a person that's able to self-evaluate. All right. Like I know sometimes when I got to get back into the gym, I'm slacking. I know. Other people telling me it's just affirmation.
Mm-hmm.
Like I think you have to learn yourself. And it's funny, we was with your partner, we was talking off camera about just being, accountable and knowing thyself, right? And when you know yourself, you know what you have to do, right? You can lie to everyone, you can't lie to yourself. When you're sitting in your room at night, everyone's away, you know what you have to do. And if you don't, that's when you need to connect with people that love you, who can evaluate and say, listen, you're doing this, get your shit together, right? And you are successful, so you might not have liked your parents' ways, but I think that they knew what they were doing.
I can
And look at the final
appreciate
product
it.
right here, right?
I can appreciate it, but I would have never been a good partner if I didn't see a therapist.
And so what did the therapist help you? Like, how did they help you?
I had a lot of bad habits.
Because wait, can I say one thing? A lot of people talk about therapy. I'm seeing a therapist, but specifically, not to get too much into your personal
Oh, please.
but how did that? How did they help you? Right? How did they help you become a better person, if they did?
I think that's a journey in itself because everybody has their own childhood and like every experience, trauma, whatever. But it's only when you tell your therapist this person.
And my boy Hassan's gonna kill me for drinking this. Oh, he's like, yo, you messed up the sound quality.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm sorry about that.
I think the therapist really is just supposed to ask you questions about yourself and have you come to realizations on your own, right? It's like having a friend who's not biased. You know, it's like having a friend to like ask you, why did you do that? And then you're not going to get that validation because they're not your friend. They're going to just ask you really what's up. Like, why did you do that? And then you have to really dive deep and like, why the fuck did I do that? You know? And I realized
you ask the tough questions, right?
They ask you the tough questions, but they have no bias. They don't know you. They're just trying to get to know you. At the same time, you're trying to get to know yourself. This person is literally meeting you where you meet yourself. You know? And
so you don't think that a parent is capable of being a therapist, like, because they know you better than the therapist, right? So you don't think that sometimes a parent can say, listen, why did you do that? Or like, get your shit together? Or is it because you come with this preconceived notion like, okay, that's my parent. They don't know shit. Or, you know, a therapist, like you said, is not biased. So you might receive it better from. Is it that they're not capable of being a therapist, or is that, you know, we're not ready to receive it from those we love?
I think there are reasons or things that happen to us that prevent us from going to those people and feeling safe around those people.
Gotcha.
Somebody might have trauma. Somebody might have been beaten. You know, some person might not feel safe in their house and you expect them to go to their parents.
No, that's a fact. No,
you know?
That's real. So let's get back to it. So you were you had a fiance, and I love the fact that you took accountability, right? A lot of times people say, yeah, we broke up, we got divorced, whatever. It was them. So the fact that you're taking accountability and saying, I did this, I could have did this differently. I respect that.
That's a muscle that I had to train myself to do.
So can I ask you a question? Do you regret that it ended, knowing what you know now, right? Is it a part of you saying, fuck, if I would have treated him this way, if I was a little bit different, we still could have worked out? Or are you like, you know what? It was meant to be. It was for the best that we go our separate ways.
I think that's how life happens, you know? Like, you can't predict it. No one knew that there was going to be a pandemic that caused him to lose his job and put us really like in the dirt. We just couldn't pivot. It was just not easy, and we didn't know where to start because we really weren't the same people we were before this event. And I don't regret it. I'm happy to know the things that I know now. I'm happy that I can say that I learned something from it. I think people...
What did you learn?
I think people are experiences. You know, you have a friend, a pen pal, and maybe it only lasts a summer, maybe it lasts your whole life, but you learn something from this person. You've definitely given some trust to that person at some point, and whether or not they're in your life anymore, like, you learn something from them. I don't really regret interactions with people. I think it's super specific, and I think I can be a better person going into the next relationship that I wanted for myself. But had I not learned those tools, how to not hurt people, how to really hold my tongue before I say something that could just add fuel to a fire, and just being more aware about myself, I wouldn't have been able to do that for somebody else and not make it their responsibility. That's the
Gotcha.
thing. It's not their responsibility. It's not my partner's job to manage me, to manage my emotions. It's not your parents' job to manage me and manage your emotions. And it's not your job to make everybody feel a certain way, because people are going to feel a way no matter what you do or say, you
Right.
know? Just let them feel their feelings.
Definitely, definitely. So now in your current relationship, how does that work? Like I said, with you having those experiences, being open about being, queer, poly, being what was the term you used? You're just fluid, right?
Yeah.
How do you keep him secure? Like, the same question I was saying. How in his I have to ask him, but like, like how like what makes him feel secure in a relationship knowing that you have so many attractions to different,
Yeah.
things,
You're asking me, what do I do in
Yeah.
relationship to
Or
my,
is he okay? Or another question too. I
yeah.
shouldn't assume. Or is he okay with you exercising that, right? Like, is he okay with you acting on those, those not I want to say temptations, but attraction triggers and things like that.
We definitely had a conversation about it
Okay.
from the very beginning. I don't think we would have gone into a serious relationship with each other if we hadn't spoken about that first and
Mm-hmm.
discussed, what does it look like? Um, how does that play out? Will things change? Like, he knew going into this relationship that I was poly and that I had been in many relationships before, and I was in relationships at that time. He didn't know who I was. He wasn't quick to cut me off. He was willing to get to know me as a person. And over time, he gained my trust, and I trusted him. And so I felt my needs, the ones that I'd always had,
Mm-hmm.
or the ones that were always like changing, shifting, were constantly being met by this one person. And then one day I decided, like, I don't need the other people. Actually, he made me feel secure first.
Okay.
Yeah, in a way, I think I wasn't feeling so secure with all the other people's relationships. A lot of guys were not committal, or they, had prior things, or they wanted a relationship to a particular extent. I think talking about what you want from a relationship is important, but as a person, in my role, like growing up a woman, I've noticed that, oh, this is all I can get. What I was showing, what I was being shown is like, oh, this is what the world or Tinder has to offer. I guess that's all I can get. I'll take it,
Gotcha.
you know?
And you guys come from different backgrounds, right? Like
Yeah.
he's like grew up in a Christian household. You actually, what did you say? You could say it. You like that's so unique, right? Like, and how old was he when you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So he grew up a very devout Christian boy
hmm
from the South.
hmm
And I grew up daughter of immigrants, Catholic. We came from very different worlds, have different polar opposite personalities. He's very much an extrovert, and I'm very much an introvert. I am very adventurous, and he knows the things that he likes to do and does them well, you know? I think from the very beginning, it was fun learning about him. And that was really what kept the situationship going and eventually turned it into a relationship.
Okay.
Like,
It's like
I
reading an
was
interesting book, right?
constantly
Yeah.
learning something about myself.
Someone that challenged you a little bit, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. But not like he didn't contribute anything to like my job. Maybe like he would encourage me to like go further, but it was really the emotional aspect. I felt great knowing that I could call him and be like, oh, today at work sucked. And he would be like, let me hear about it. Talk to me about it. Not like, oh, I'm busy and stuff like that. Because, like, Sure. When that happens once, you let it slide.
Mm-hmm.
When it happens a lot, then you're like, why the fuck am I here?
Mm-hmm.
Why the fuck do I go to you?
Mm-hmm.
You know?
With all of that, and then you said so. Like, how? So, what type of things did you guys have in common? And like, I know you said you guys grew up in different, ways of life. He's a Christian boy from the South, and he's black too, right? You're
Yeah.
Filipino immigrant parents. But what are some of the things that that bonded you guys together, other than just him being emotionally available for you?
That's
Like,
interesting.
what made you say this is the one? Like, he's the one that I want to be with.
It was that he was able to, it really was the emotional stuff because we have nothing in common. I
What was
lost my virginity at like 15. He was a virgin until 25.
That's what I was talking
30,
about. I wanted to
35.
like
Sorry, 35.
30. He lost his virginity at 35,
Yeah, yeah.
and you were the one to take his virginity.
Yeah, I mean, like I was sexually adventurous growing up.
Got you.
We made so many different choices in life and essentially got to the same place where we knew what we needed in a person. I was so different from him that in all the ways he needed to improve or he felt weak, I was strong. My adventure, sense of adventure, my willingness to fail and try new things, and in the ways that I felt really weak, he was strong for me. So I felt really insecure making or having like good girlfriends, let's just say,
Mm-hmm.
just having like people. I realized like, oh, I'm not a social person. I don't naturally bring myself out there. It's hard for me to connect to people without first being invited to talk.
Mm-hmm.
And he helped me exercise that. He's a people person. He really pulled me out of my shell. He's that person where I'm like in the corner of the room observing. He's like, come on, like, let's go to the dance floor. And he brought out a side of me that wasn't inherently something that I was comfortable with, and vice versa.
That's awesome. So it was like a cool balance, right?
Oh, yeah.
Like he was able to bring things out of you. Maybe you didn't know you had, right?
I didn't know. I didn't know how unaware I was because I had never practiced that. My life experience was just this way if you've never experienced something, how do you know how to do it?
Mm-hmm.
If you didn't have a mentor or somebody to teach you how to do it, how are you ever going to get it?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't have a great relationship with my parents. They've always been present. I live in Queens, grew up in Queens. They're still there in Elmhurst.
Mm-hmm.
But I never really like talked to my mom after 15 years old. I was
Really?
like so quick to like leave the nest. I was like, I don't want to be home. It was a really crowded home. I'm the oldest of 5.
Mm-hmm.
There were like 8 people in my house at all times,
So you didn't have like that
Super
privacy.
overwhelming.
Right?
No, I just needed something else.
Gotcha.
But I realized I didn't like go to my parents for things. My mom's a nurse.
Okay.
But did I ask her for any help in nursing school? No. And Quentin has a great relationship with his family. They call each other like every night. And I was like, man, I want that.
Wow.
I've always wanted that. But how do I get that? How do I start practicing that? And he was somebody to teach me. And then
How to be closer with your family?
yeah.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah, that's just like one thing in the many things that he's taught me, how we've been growing as better people, more realized people, happier people together, because we're not ready-made. Nobody's ready-made. I think the ability to learn something from your partner, grow from something you're struggling with, and play is what keeps people together.
The fact that you took his virginity, was that something that like, did you believe him when he said he was a virgin? Like,
I didn't know until 4 months later.
Really?
Yeah. He
So he must have did a good job. You didn't know.
No, I didn't know.
Like, that's why. So like with you, and then you having that experience and him being a virgin, do you think that was that something that you said to yourself, wow, like this is something that, how can it keep me engaged? Because like you said, you are attracted to different things and different types of experiences. Did you ever say to yourself, I hope this is something that can satisfy me that way too, right? Because
just because he was a virgin doesn't mean he wasn't good at sex.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
There are a lot of people who have a lot of sex,
Yeah.
and
They
they
suck at it.
probably still suck because no one ever told them what to fix
Gotcha.
or
Gotcha.
how to
Gotcha.
please them on an individual level. Oh, I learned this one thing with this one girl.
Yeah.
Applies it to every other woman, and
Like a one trick
not
pony,
every
right?
other one.
Yeah.
Yeah, like a
Yeah.
one-trick pony, and
Yeah.
not every other woman likes that.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Gotcha.
I also would say I knew what I liked. I had a lot of experience and a lot of sex to teach me what I didn't like, and I was able to come to the table and say, I know enough about myself sexually
Mm-hmm.
that you don't have to figure it out.
Mm-hmm.
I'll just tell you. And he listened.
Gotcha.
Like, that was it.
And how were you able to come to a place, right? Being, engaged, right? How were you able to open up again? Because I think a lot of times too, when people are, divorced, married,
Mhm.
they come from a place of like brokenness or hurt. How were you able to move on from the past experience and let this new man in?
I really dissected what went wrong.
Okay.
How did I make a mistake? Like, I've been this successful in my job. I've, you know, I have all the hobbies that I want. I can travel freely. I can do whatever the fuck I want.
Mm-hmm.
So how did I fail here?
Yeah.
When I'm thinking about myself on an individual level, I have full control. Like, I can control my destiny on an individual level. But that's not what happens in a relationship. You don't have control. It's another person involved. You don't control their feelings. You don't control their reactions. You only know how you respond.
Yeah.
No one will ever have control over their partner. And anyone who does is like really toxic. But, which honestly, I think I did. I think I tried to control my partner at some point. I think I didn't know how relationships or healthy relationships worked. I was like not the type of person to listen to people either. I was like, oh, I gotta figure it out on my own. Everyone could give me advice and I'll still do the opposite just to figure out why. And that's just some people's journeys. Some people know exactly what to do and how to give. And they just find that person that they click with who needs exactly what they're given. And then that works. But then there's some people like me who have to literally experiment and try everything in the book and do all the different things to know what I don't want. And it was a really long process.
Oh, definitely. I mean, you have a unique, interesting story. I never met, a woman to say that she took her, partner at 35 and then going through all of that and then saying you found everything in this one guy now.
I mean, that has nothing to do with me. Why he was a virgin at 35.
No, I know, but the fact that you were able to accept that, a lot of women sometimes a woman would want their partner to be more experienced than them if they're a man, so that they can teach them.
I didn't have an assumption.
Okay.
I think he came into this relationship with no expectations because he was like no person that I had ever met.
Gotcha.
And I'd like to think not like anybody he had ever met. But instead of going into a relationship with him with the same fears and traumas and reactions from the past relationship.
Yeah. That's because he made you feel safe.
We wouldn't have been together. He worked on himself too. Yeah. He didn't have to get into a relationship with me. He didn't have to be open. Yeah. I'm just trying to be myself. And then at the time, he just also tried it, was open, not knowing what was going to happen. But the fact that there's that level of uncertainty and we can still move forward and work together and play is what it is. If I come into a relationship already thinking I know what's going to happen, I've already shot myself in the foot. And now I got to go backpedal. Now we got to be like, oh, why did I even think that?
So what are some of the challenges that you guys face in a relationship? What are some of the things that you guys, need to work on now that you guys are together? Is there anything that, that you think that will help if you did differently?
Oh man, they're really petty, small arguments I think we have, and it's times that I feel like we just miss each other.
Really?
There are days where he's really low and I'm really low, and we communicate and just miss each other. But then we always go back and say, hey, I noticed this. I didn't like it. And we're honest. I'm not afraid to tell him how I feel now. But if you had asked me over a year ago, I wouldn't be telling my feelings.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I was like too afraid to feel my feelings. I was such a rational person. I'm like, no, they did this because they care. Oh, like this is why they did. No, sometimes I'm just kind of like, well, I now honor what I feel in the moment, and because it's true, if something upsets me, I'm gonna be like, that upset me. What are you gonna do about it?
Yeah.
And to be with somebody who says, I'm sorry. I was not the kind of person who was gonna say sorry. It was me.
Really?
I was the problem. Yeah, like it was so hard for me to accept that something I did was wrong because I had been seeing myself do everything right.
Yeah. Yeah.
So no one could tell me that I was doing it wrong. I was genuinely unaware
So
that I
like,
was doing
what
something
made you
wrong.
start becoming more accountable for things that you've done wrong? When did you? Oh, I'm sorry. You put your hand up like I did. Okay. Okay.
It's
Okay.
therapy.
Okay. So before therapy, you weren't holding yourself accountable.
Oh, hell no.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
I was
Gotcha.
not that person. I had no idea. I was like burning through men and women and everyone on a dating app to the point
Yeah.
where I'd probably see them again. Or they were in my circle and I'd be like, oh my goodness, they're all probably great people.
Yeah.
But when I was swiping, I was not a good person.
So what's the future like for you and my boy Q? Like, what do you see it going? Is this like the one marriage? Do you want kids?
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know if I want kids. I think they'd be cute. But I really don't know I can't predict.
Gotcha.
It really depends on the time, I think
Gotcha.
it's really serious.
Gotcha.
I care about him a lot. You can't undo feelings like that.
Gotcha. Okay.
Unless you're constantly hurting each other, like I've done to other people, like my exes. I
Yeah.
mean, definitely, like you start out with like the puppy dog love and the honeymoon phase. And then there comes a point where you're no longer seeing eye to eye, and then you're arguing all the time. You don't agree with things. Their presence is irritable to you, and it's reciprocal, and then it just burns. And I'm kind of like, how do I maintain a relationship? What do I do in a relationship to not get to that point or prevent that from happening, from it burning? And I think I learned that by regulating myself and realizing where I'm weak, and I couldn't have done that without a therapist.
That's dope. That's dope that you were able to, understand that about yourself. Therapy, the fact that you knew that you needed therapy is also good too. So yeah, that's amazing, man. That's a dope story.
Can I tell you
What?
what he responded to on my Hinge?
Nah, you gotta tell me. Of course. What do you say? Like, what attracted you to him? Like when you saw his profile, what he said in the messages.
I wasn't swiping. Because I was so tired and burnt out of meeting people, I only picked from the people who gave me roses or people who
Gotcha.
like swiped on me, who were like really adamant about meeting me.
Yeah. So
Everyone
he gave
else,
you a
I was
rose
like, yeah,
on his?
yeah. And he responded to my prompt, not a photo.
Yeah.
My question was, one thing I want to know about you is, are you seeing a therapist?
Okay. And
He
responded to that.
responded to that one. And he was like, yeah, I've been seeing one for like 9 years. And everyone else, likes the ass pic or you in a bathing suit or your pretty face.
Yeah.
Some people need that.
Yeah.
Some people just want that. I didn't. I was like tired of the attention that I got from people who, really just wanted me to have long hair or, it felt conditional. Oh, you like me because of this condition, and not who is this person you're becoming? Who is this person you're capable of? Are you capable of growing? No matter how we look, what we do in life, how ambitious we are or not ambitious. Because everybody's got to take breaks. Everybody is like a roller coaster. Your life changes. Everything shifts. What is going to guarantee that you can make it through the shift?
So basically, I think that you guys found each other at the right time. I think you guys, timing is everything, right? What do you think about that?
I think success is 90% preparation and 10% timing.
Okay.
90% of the preparation was me being able to know myself well enough to receive a person, no matter who that person was. I didn't know it was going to be Quentin. I didn't know I was looking for a person like Quentin. I just happened to meet him. But if not for the timing, I wouldn't have been ready for him.
Mm-hmm.
If I had met Quentin during the pandemic, I wouldn't have been ready for him.
Mm-hmm.
I met a lot of people during the pandemic. I wasn't ready for any of them.
Uh-huh.
And probably most of them weren't ready for me. But at the time, we were both going through grief. And there were few people who, at the time, could understand what we were experiencing. I experienced the loss of a future that I imagined with a person. You know, this idea of kids, having a house, being
Also, wait, so you
successful.
wanted kids then?
I did.
Wow.
With
So
this
what made
particular person.
so what made you say now that you don't want? Well, you say you don't know if you want kids. What made you unsure now?
I don't know if I'm unsure. I just know that I don't have to expect it. You know,
Gotcha.
like I think based on who the person I was with before, this is what we had agreed to build upon.
Mm-hmm.
We wanted a family. This is the future that we built together for
Gotcha.
ourselves. We imagined and dreamed of. When I lost him, I lost that dream.
Mm-hmm.
But in meeting somebody new, you build a new dream together. You can't apply your old dreams unless that's what you want, then you have to have a conversation with them. But like I couldn't apply all the dreams that I wanted with my ex to this person, you know, just trying to fit this new person into the puzzle piece that is my life. That's kind of selfish. I don't know, in my opinion. But it was our future is a joint effort. If you can imagine yourself with somebody 5, 10, 15 years from then, it's because you've been imagining it together, not as an individual. Again, I have control over everything that I want as an individual, regardless of who I'm with. I could be single, but I know that I don't want to be. So I have to relinquish a lot of that control.
Does Quentin want kids? Is he okay with like you being in a space where you're unsure?
We're okay with not having kids right now.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Because obviously you guys discussed that before.
It's not off the table.
Got you.
It's just what conditions in our life are going to have to click and meet for that to happen.
Got you.
You know, success is 90%, in my opinion, 90% preparation and 10% timing.
Mm-hmm.
How do you know if you're ready for something if you haven't planned it beforehand and done everything that you can to work towards that goal? It's like working out with a goal. It's like going to school with a goal. I'm not saying we should, but my intention is to build a relationship and a family with somebody with that amount of work and preparation and studying and examination, you know?
Gotcha. No, definitely.
Effort.
No, for sure. It takes effort, preparation, and all that. So so now, right? If you said, Quentin, you know, I think I might want to, you know, exercise the poly aspect. Do you think he'll be okay with that? Or do you think that he would? Because, you know, feelings are motherfucker, man. Like, seriously, you might be okay with certain shit in the beginning, or you might think that you're okay with certain shit, but as a man, when you have to share your woman sexually, that's a hard pill to, like, fucking swallow, man. Like, I'm gonna keep it real.
Yeah.
Especially, like, it's not a woman that you're just dating casually. This is a woman that you love. Yeah. Men are territorial, especially when we love that woman. We want all of them. We don't want to share, right?
Sure.
So if you wanted to do that in the future, you think that can, because sometimes he might say, damn, you know, that's something that we agreed upon. So I don't want to look like I'm going back on my agreement.
Oh, sure.
So how would you really understand, like, know if he really has a problem?
Because that's happened before.
Really?
Yeah.
With
like,
the previous?
Agreeing to conditions, and then when the condition actually happens, you'd be like, oh, you know what I said? I take it back.
Yo, you can't help feelings,
you can't,
right?
like, do that. But
have you thought about that, Karen? Like, is that something that you figured out? Or, like, how do you process that shit?
Remember when I talked about the conditions it takes for me to be okay with having a kid?
Mm-hmm.
I have to think about the conditions that would make it necessary for me to be ethically non-monogamous again. I would ask myself, and we'd have a conversation, you have this need, but why do you have this need?
Mm-hmm.
What am I not giving? Or what can I do better to remedy kind of like your needs? Because, you know, my needs will be different based on the condition. I can't predict it. But if there was a condition that I was like, oh, I need to go have sex with somebody, we'd have a discussion. Actually, that happened when we were dating.
Really? And how did that discussion go?
I was seeing another guy, and I just been getting to know Quentin We weren't really like attached yet. We were getting to know each other, and he wasn't having sex with me. I didn't know he wasn't he was a virgin, but he was like, "No,
So like
I'm
you were
not ready."
like,
He wasn't ready. He wasn't
he
ready.
would tell you, babe, I'm not ready,
He
or
wasn't
like,
ready. Yeah.
okay.
And I respected that. And I was like, "Okay, but
And did you ask him like, why are you not ready? Did you?
it wasn't my business."
Gotcha, gotcha,
I was like, "This is where you are. I
gotcha.
accept that." Now, on the flip side of that, this is where I am and I need sex.
Yes, yeah, yeah.
So,
That's real. That's real.
right? Like, I
Yeah.
respect what you want,
But I need,
but I have needs too. This
yeah.
is what you need. You need to like not have sex, and I need to have sex. And he let me go off. And I had sex with this guy. And then I told him, I was like, yeah, but I'm seeing somebody. It was really
You
open,
told the
really
guy
honest.
that
Yeah,
you were
I
saying
was like,
something.
hey, and he was like down.
Damn,
You know, they're just those guys who are just down for hookups.
damn.
And he was aware of the situation. Sure, there might have been feelings involved, but like, this was just a need. And I was going to go back and talk to Quentin because I did.
So if Quentin was open to having sex with you, you still think you still would have had other needs, or you think that would have been just good and just okay? I just have this guy that I love, because I think sometimes women have the ability, right? Especially like in your case, right? You can probably detach, like, okay, I love this man, but still, right? I can be ethically, you know,
Ethically non-monogamous.
non-monogamous, right?
Yeah, a lot of people are non-monogamous, but not ethically, right?
Yeah,
Like,
because you're being
that's called
honest about it.
cheating.
Yeah, cheating is being you're
Yeah.
lying and not being truthful about
Yeah.
it. But when
Yeah.
you tell someone up front, like, listen, this is what time it is, that's ethically monogamous, because you're letting them know you're not lying to them.
Yeah. And he was willing to meet me
Mm,
and accept that, oh, I'm a person who also has needs that need to be fulfilled.
gotcha.
Go fulfill your needs and then come back. It doesn't change our relationship. Sure, he may not feel great. It may have shifted how he feels about it, but he respects me as an individual, especially one that he didn't know yet.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
I was like, who are you to tell me?
But the hard question, Karen, is different. He loves you. This man's invested. I see how you guys move. This man loves you. I'm telling you. I can't speak for that man, but for me, if I love a woman, I'm 10 toes down. Like, I'm gonna have an issue with that.
When he let me do that, I fell in love with him.
When he
let me be me and fulfill my needs however I needed to fulfill them, because he respected me and he knew that, like, okay, she had sex before I met her. Just because I don't want to have sex doesn't mean she can't.
But what if he says, babe, you know, listen, I know what we said, but I just can't tolerate it. I can't take it. You either have to stop doing that and commit to me sexually 100%, or
it wouldn't have worked. I would have been like, bye.
Really?
Yeah.
But how about now, though, in the space you are with him now? Because it's different now. Like, what you think?
Oh, yeah, it shifted. I don't think there are conditions that exist right now that make me want to practice ethical non-monogamy.
Got you.
Right.
Got you.
But if there are, we have to discuss, why do you feel this way? What do you need? How can I do that for you? How can I be a good partner and support you? And then vice versa. It's not just about my needs. It's also about his needs.
Got you. And if he wanted to practice ethical, like, would you be okay with that?
Honestly, it'd be really fun. It'd be like really interesting, just because I know that's not how he started.
Gotcha.
I don't think that's what he wants. But the fact that we can shift and evolve as people, again, because we all have different needs at different times and different conditions in the world.
Yeah.
We can pivot. We can put it on the table and have a conversation about it. And I feel safe putting it on the table. I feel like I couldn't be with a person who...
You couldn't be yourself, right? And
I couldn't be myself. You know, I worked so hard to have the freedoms that I enjoy, do whatever I want to do, and I could easily be single, you know, and a partnership is really just that. It's, you're working with somebody towards, you know, a mutual goal. And I don't have to be that selfish, self-absorbed, hyper independent person anymore. You know, he created a condition and an environment where I didn't have to be. Feeling safe to put yourself on the table, like naked, exposed, vulnerable.
But the
was the
scariest shit is
best.
like when you say things, even though that's how you feel, you don't know how they're gonna take it too, right?
Oh yeah, I can't
Especially when it's
control
somebody, because I know before you
people's
can want to say, you know what, this is
reactions.
what it is. I make my own money. Fuck you. I don't care. This is what I'm doing.
Yeah.
But now you love this man and you cater to, you have to cater to his emotions as well, right?
Oh, 100%.
So yeah, and I say as a man, check on that man because even though he might be okay with it because he agreed upon it, when a man loves a woman, Karen, trust me, I'm telling you from a man's perspective. I don't know him, but I can just kind of think when a man really loves a woman, it's kind of hard to like see her, do that. So please just constantly check on that man, make sure he's emotionally okay with that shit too.
Yeah.
That's just from the man, from the man's side. And the
Yeah.
fact that you care what he thinks is like you said, you made your own money, you didn't give a fuck, you was doing what you wanted to do. The fact that you care how he feels and you cater to his emotions and understand what I do, even though he might say it's okay, it might hurt him emotionally too. That's something that that you're considering. So
Yeah, I think we would like see each other's or experience each other's emotions long before it got to that point. I think the whole part of our relationship, the success of our relationship is preventing the hurt.
Mhm.
Having a plan, knowing this is what my need is today. Kind of like how Brene Brown says like relationships are never 50-50. They're not. Like for the entire pandemic, I was like at a 10 and my ex was at a 0. That's not the condition conducive to a relationship. And we hurt each other over and over in that time.
Mhm.
And then it ended. How can I do that again with another person? I don't want to. So I have to be aware of what my needs are, where they're coming from, and not be afraid to voice the truth. I think having a plan is really what makes something real.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. Yo, Karen, I appreciate you so much sharing all of this. Like, you let everything out. You were vulnerable on this couch. You shared information that I never knew. Thank you so much, man. I appreciate it. Your
Oh,
time was so valuable today. Thank you so
thank you
much.
so much.
And this is, you have a home here. Whenever you want to come back and chop it up.
I know it's a little comfy. It's like
You're always
all the
welcome,
time.
man.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Miss Karen Kansas. I
Yeah.
appreciate you. The Guys Podcast on Capture Media. We out.